Well, hello, and welcome again to the 2012fad.com. I will be your host for this evening, and my name is Charlie Bluehawk. Last night, we talked about surviving radiation and how absolutely simple it is to cure yourself of radiation poisoning. No chemicals, no drugs, no expensive treatments provided by your local doctor who's just dispensing drugs that are made out of petroleum to try to cure you of diseases that were caused by other petroleum products that they've fed you and you don't know about it. But to cure radiation poisoning is so simple. It's actually, sad is a word I use quite a lot, and I'm sorry about that, but it's really simple. You add foods to your diet, foods that our mother, the earth, has created for us in the 2.5 billion years that you and I and our people have lived on this planet. It's very simple. You add spirulina and chlorella, seaweed in the form of miso soup, unless you can get, fresh seaweed. You add cilantro and parsley. And the two very best bodybuilding materials, I guess you could say, that I've ever found. Vitamin C and fish oil, which has also been known as vitamin A/D. See, what happens is radioactive particles are, and I understood this at one time, so bear with me. Radioactive particles have positively charged ions, or are positively charged ions. And in the atomic makeup of spirulina, chlorella, seaweed, which is miso soup in our case, these have receptors that are negative ions. And so the negative and the positive ions sort of bond together. What this means is that when you eat these foods and they're in your body, the radioactive particles bind with them. And then when you run to the toilet, guess what happens to the radiation? You pass it on to the toilet. That's it. You're done. The radiation is removed from your body. Just add these things to your daily diet. Well, you should eat them anyway as a rule because they're all terribly good for you. And you'll be okay. No expensive treatments, no expensive drugs, no horrible goodbyes. Just get the stuff out of you. And how do you do that? Well, our mother looks after us. And our mother's the earth. It's not a religious thing. It's a fact. You and I have been here for 2.5 billion years. There must be a reason for that. Our mother is the earth. Our father is the sun. It's just the way things are. You can be a Buddhist. You can be a Jew. You can be a Muslim. It doesn't matter. This isn't religion. This is reality. Eat the things that our mother gives us. And if our mother didn't make it, don't put it in your mouth. Our masters don't want you to know this. You can cure yourself of virtually every disease that we're suffering today when you plant the right things in your own garden. And you don't need a lot of room. You need a windowsill. You need a closet. You need space in the garage. It doesn't take much, and it doesn't cost much, and you can be healthy. And I'll tell you from personal experience, a healthy body means a healthy mind. It means a mind that's not being drugged with poisons. And our foods we buy at the grocery store are filled with nothing but poisons. I've seen this myself with my own eyes, literally. The cleaner the food that I was eating, the clearer my thoughts were. It's really astonishing. And it's up to you if you want to be happy and healthy. It starts with your food. You are what you eat, period. That's it. Happy, healthy, intelligent, knowledgeable, fearless, clear thinking. These are all things that you have the right to be. And these are all the things that our masters hate. So tonight, I thought we might chat about evil means coward. Suppose you could say evil equals coward. It's about how I learned as a very small, very tormented, and very hated little child what cowards our masters are, what cowards their servants really are. And I was going to say, I know how cowards think and how they act, but I'm overstating that last bit. I know what cowards and bullies and thugs and liars do, but I don't know why they do it. I don't. I honestly don't. I've witnessed it with my own eyes so many times, the destruction and the horror that lies cause. And I have no idea why anyone, theoretically of their own free will, would choose to be a coward, or a bully, or a thug, or a liar. I just don't know why. I really don't. All I can think of is, they're stupid. For our masters, it must be kind of tough for our masters because at this point in their own personal evolution, frankly, I don't think any of them at this point in time have much of a choice. They've been tortured, they've been raped, they've been abused, and they've been programmed by their own parents, who in turn were programmed by their parents, who were programmed in turn by their parents. We're looking at generation after generation after generation of black magic ritual torture, which has evolved into technology. So now you've got black magic as science. Now you've got so little in the way of free will with our masters that honestly, it's really foolish of us to think that we can change them, that we can reason with them. And you're thinking, well, they're human beings, I wouldn't do that, therefore no other human being would do that. We can change our masters. We can show them what they're doing is wrong, and they probably don't realize it. And once they see it, they'll stop. Well, here's the problem, and I don't mean, again, to be the pompous, arrogant jerk that I am, but forgive me, I gotta be me. There's something that you need to forget about, and you need to forget about it right now. Our masters are a different form of life from you and I. They are totally alien in their outlook of our world, in their outlook of you and I. Nothing we can do will ever bridge the gap between us and our masters. Nothing. No conversation, no treaties, no agreements, nothing. Our masters think of us, if we're lucky, as cattle. If we're fortunate, they consider us to be slaves. If we're fortunate. Our masters see no problem with kidnapping our children, gang raping them, killing them on their altar stones, cutting the skin from their still living bodies, and then drinking their blood. Hopefully they're dead by then. They're doing this to our children. I remember a very long time ago when I was very, very young, one of these U.S. Army Air Corps intelligence morons, he actually had something, I wouldn't call it a conscience, maybe it was, maybe he actually felt something. But one day he looked at me, and I was maybe 6, 7 years old. He actually looked at me and said, they eat Christian babies. And I just looked at him and said, him, my little tiny child, he must have been 60 or 70. I just looked at him and said, just stop it. I don't want to talk to you. But you know what? In his own way, he was trying to get the message out. All my life, people have been saying these things to me, and I was a little tiny child. As if somehow I would know what the hell they were talking about. But this old U.S. Army Air Corps guy, this nobody, nothing asset of the CIA, in his own way, was trying to tell me the truth. And he did tell me the truth. Of course, by then, even as a small child, I knew him, he was a liar. But he actually was trying to tell me the truth. So I guess I'm trying to pass along the favor. I'm trying to tell you the truth. And what I'm saying to you is, our masters are so different from us that murdering and torturing and raping and butchering our children while they're still alive is fun for them. So no, they're not like us at all. Please forget about that. All we can do with our masters is to drive them away from us. All we can do is we need to capture them, put them into prison, throw away the key. What we really should do is we should shoot each of them in the head. I'd use a silver bullet personally, but that's just me. But you know what? I don't have the stomach for that. And our masters know that. But at a certain point, it's going to come to that. Personally, I'd rather just lock them up. Lord knows we have enough prisons in the United States to hold all of them and then some. So if we get all of our masters rounded up, we arrest them, we do a citizen's arrest on them, we go to Washington, D.C., we arrest them, millions of us. We go to Wall Street, we arrest the bankers, millions of us. We go to our state capitals and arrest them, hundreds of thousands of us, all of us armed. We seize their assets, which they stole from us. We go look up the cumulative annual financial reports, the CAFRs. Check out Walter Burian's site about that, where they've collected trillions and trillions of our dollars. So much money is in the United States, the bad guys, the masters, the bankers, the corporations don't know what to do with it all. It's our money. We don't know about it. We're barely able to feed ourselves or have a place to live. Once we get all that money back, once we put the masters and the mandarins and their servants and their slaves in prison, what do we do then? We wait. We wait for the last of them to simply die of old age. We don't allow them to reproduce. We don't allow them to talk to each other. We don't allow them to harm another innocent soul. We lock them up. We throw away the key. We weld the bars to the cell shut so it can never be opened. And when the last of them has died of natural causes, we encase the prison in concrete. And we put up plaques in every language we can think of. This is where the monsters are buried. And we tell their story, and we never forget the story. We tell the tale generation after generation after generation so the monsters can never come back. And while the monsters are still alive in those prisons we put up for them, we put up entire armies surrounding each prison for 100 years, and we make certain that not one of the masters, not one of the mandarin, not one of the servants, not one of the slaves ever escapes. We don't talk to them, we don't listen to them, we don't trust them. Because they'll tell you the truth. If even one of them is free, if one of them gets away, it'll all start over again. We have to end this horror. This horror has to end, and it has to end now, this time and forever. We have to tell the story over and over and over again to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. It has to become part of our culture. We have to talk about the monsters, the masters, who they are, what they did, how they did it. And we have to show people what will happen if we allow this again. When I was a small child, I was part of a CIA breeding program to breed psychic super soldiers. Program failed, obviously, as so many CIA programs do. But part of the program is to indoctrinate humans into this. They have to be tortured from before birth. I mean, for my birth to occur, first they had to find not a willing woman, but a woman that would be sold by her husband, her boyfriend, her girlfriend, into the service of the masters. In this case, I was born into, as often is the case, a military family. U.S. Army Air Corps, to be exact. And there has to be a pregnant woman involved in the first trimester. First thing that happens is this woman who's carrying the child, naturally, that child inside of the woman's womb has to be murdered, has to be butchered, has to be sliced to pieces while still in the woman's womb. This releases in black magic ritual a tremendous amount of energy, spirit energy. Me, I was in the womb at the same time. I had been put in after the fact, after the initial natural pregnancy had begun. And so my embryo was in the woman's womb when the child that was naturally conceived was murdered. And not simply murdered, butchered, torn apart, ripped to pieces. In human, creation, progeneration, whatever you want to call it, when a man and a woman have sex, the moment the sperm penetrates the egg, consciousness begins. A spirit is bound at that moment. There is consciousness, there is awareness. I'm not against abortion, by the way. Abortion, in my case, would have been a blessing from the gods. If God had permitted me to die at that moment, I would have just been grateful. Because I know to be born into a family that hates you is the worst thing imaginable. I would rather have been butchered in the womb with my half-sister than to live the life that I've lived. But part of the black magic ritual, the CIA ritual, the naturally conceived child has to be butchered in the mother's womb, while the artificial embryo, me, is in the womb at the same time. That's how deep hatred of man runs in our masters. And when my half-sister was butchered inside of our mother's womb, and her spirit exploded out of her butchered little body, she reached automatically for the closest, nearest thing to her, which was me. I suppose in black magic ritual, and I don't know all of them, thank God I don't. I know a few little things, and I don't want to know anymore. The theory being, as far as I can tell, that I would have absorbed her life force and would have triggered the psychic super soldier thing to happen. I don't understand the mechanics, honestly. But that's where the torture began. I actually gestated inside of this woman's womb with the pieces of my dead half-sister's body floating around me. Her tortured, tormented little soul wrapped around mine. That's how deep the hatred of the masters is for us. And then after I was born, and the woman whose body I was born in, it just tore her body to pieces. Her body was, after my forced birth, her body was distorted and destroyed. She was never whole again. The process destroys everyone and everything involved with it, much to the delight of our masters. So please never think you can reason with, I was going to say people. Please don't believe that you can reason with our masters. Because after I was born, that was just the beginning. As I say, I'm not against abortion. A clean death inside the womb, infinitely better than what I have survived. After I was born, more torture. Every bone in my body has been broken, and broken before the age of 5. My nose was broken. I was My nose is still broken. I was starved. I was belittled. I was degraded. I was gang raped. I had all of my hopes and my dreams crushed, killed, deliberately murdered in front of my eyes, over and over and over again. Because, to them, I was just a piece of meat, cattle. I was just another CIA mind-controlled killing machine. That was my purpose in life as far as our masters were concerned. And a psychic super soldier has only one purpose: to terrorize and to kill. That's it. Sadly for me, and for those in the rest of those in the experiment, and there were quite a few of us, at least, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I know of personally. Sadly, for, the CIA, who frankly are not the brightest creatures ever created in this universe, most of the CIA projects, their plans for power and glory, and of course this is the NSA and the Rockefellers, most of their fancy projects just fail. And they fail because, well, the CIA is, the Rockefellers, they're morons, they're idiots. But they did hurt me. But they did hurt me. They're really good at hurting us. But I also saw them, our masters, their servants, the Mandarin class, their servants, the CIA street club thugs, the U.S. Army Air Corps intelligence agents, more street thugs, more morons. But that's what they are. They're morons, and they're all cowards. If you say boo to them, they will turn and run screaming into the night, wetting themselves in fear, screaming for help. And they always have the same pattern, the same mindset time after time. Creativity, frankly, is not a mark of a moron or of a master. They just keep doing the same things over and over and over, expecting a different result. And if you look up, and this is a fun one, look up on the internet the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same action over and over again, expecting a different result. And our masters keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and they expect a different result. Like all cowards, like all bullies, like all thugs, they only attack the weak, the helpless, the hopeless, and the defenseless. And then only in the dead of night, and then only if the odds are 10 to 1, 20 to 1. Bravery? No, not the mark of a master. Not one of the traits of the masters. Not a trait of a moron. Now they know they're cowards, they're our masters, and so they've trained a very loyal following of what basically comes down to trained German attack dogs, who are very well trained, and they're very loyal. I know from personal experience, if one of these guys is your pal, you have a defender for life. The problem is that there's only a certain type of human being who's going to fall for this my country, right or wrong thing. It means if you have any awareness of your surroundings at all, you will notice that what you're being told is not what you're seeing. And you will change sides eventually, or at least you'll step away. And so, as with all CIA, NSA, Rockefeller, our masters' plans, they still have to use human beings. But the human beings they have to choose, well, are not very bright, are not very aware. And that's, again, the problem. The problem with human beings who are not very bright is that your projects are going to fail. And the CIA projects fail all the time. There's not enough black magic ritual or the technology to support the black magic ritual that will overcome the fact they have to work with idiots and fools and the, well, frankly, just not very bright. Occasionally, enough projects will survive just accidentally to make our lives a living hell, to destroy our world, to wipe out entire species of animal and plant life just because our masters have decided that it bothers them. And that's another thing. They're deliberately destroying specific forms of life on this planet because those forms of life, for whatever reason, are interfering with their projects. We know, you and I, that eating spirulina and chlorella and coriander and parsley will cure us of radiation poisoning. So, the masters, if they actually got around to thinking that deeply, would want to destroy those things to make sure that we would not survive radiation poisoning. We only have one choice, those of us who have weak stomachs like I do when it comes to violence. We need to hunt them down, millions of us against one of them. They'd understand that. Arrest them all, put them all in prison, find all of these projects and shut them down. Like I said, I was part of a group that was part of the Psychic Super Soldier Project. They've got lots of Psychic Super Soldier projects running, and they've since overcome a lot of the problems in the last 50 years that they had with the project that I was hatched under. But of course, the project I was part of failed miserably. And as far as I know, of the 6 of us that I know of, well, 7, including me, none of us became unstoppable killing machines. We mostly just faded away and hid. I'm planning to hide as soon as I can, actually. None of us became monsters. None of us became super soldiers. What we actually did, as far as I know, we actually could hear the universe breathing. We could actually hear our mother, the earth, crying for her children. And then the idea of violence is just, unacceptable. Unless if, God permits me to have a family someday, you attack my family, you attack me, I'll kill you without a second thought and never think about it again. But up until that point, the idea of violence sickens me. Because I can hear our mother crying. And it doesn't mean that you're religious, it doesn't mean that you're a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian. We've been part of this world for 2.5 billion years. We are this planet. And the earth really is our mother. And if you stop and you listen, and just you're quiet within yourself, get all the poisons, the chemicals out of you that are designed specifically not to let you hear. Once you're quiet inside of yourself, you can hear everything. You can hear your own body. You can hear and feel what's happening inside of your own body. You can hear the universe breathing. And you can hear your mother, our mother. You can hear her crying for what we're doing to each other, to ourselves. That's not religion. That's plain old-fashioned reality. That's a fact. And the one thing our masters don't want us to know is that we're more than what we think we are. See, in order to create slaves, you must first destroy who they are, who they think they are. It's their souls, if you will. And to create a slave, a real slave, you have to fragment the soul into different personalities. You've seen this on TV all the time, multiple personality disorder. And when you're a small child, the CIA does this with gang rape and drugs, and mind-controlling programming tools as Disney movies. If you want a real shock in your life, rent a Disney movie, put it in the DVD player, make sure there are no children in the house. Turn off the sound and put the movie on slow playback and watch it every frame per frame. Get a couple of your grown-up friends to sit with you and watch. And don't talk during the movie, just watch with the sound off. And watch a Disney movie frame by frame. You will be horrified. And our masters are just laughing. So, small children, gang rape, drugs, abuse, torture, Disney movies. And you can actually create different personalities. You can fragment the soul. And each of these souls is then programmed to take over the body under certain situations. For example, if you suddenly find yourself in a war zone, the personality, that part of your soul, that it was fragmented off and is trained as a soldier, will automatically step forward and take over the body. For example, if you're suddenly in a hospital and they need a doctor, that part of your soul that was fragmented, that part of your personality that was trained as a doctor, will step forward and take over the body. This sounds really wild. It's science fiction. Don't listen to me. Don't believe anything I say. The problem is it's true, which just makes it sad. I've actually known guys, and I suspect I might actually be one of these guys, who actually worked 2 jobs and never knew it. During the day, they lived their life, their normal life. They had their normal job. They had lots of friends, but nobody close. But they seemed like normal guys. But at night, they'd go home, have dinner, watch a little telly, go to bed. Another part of their personality would then wake up. Get them up, have a shower, get dressed, go to a totally different job that they worked at night. And they never knew. They never remembered. And they also never got paid. So at night, when these guys were asleep, another part of their soul, another part of their personality woke up, took over. These were the personalities that were designed to work for the corporate, for the government, for the agencies, for our masters, doing things that during the day they had no idea that they could do. Now, I know from personal experience that the human being can survive on very little sleep. I can't remember the last time I actually slept in years. But there must be some program inside of these guys that when their daytime personality was inactive, was asleep, it was actually resting. So when their nighttime personality stepped up and was driving the body for the night job, the daytime personality slept. And likewise, during the day, the nighttime personality slept. And these guys did this for years. And it's not really surprising that they had no families, no girlfriends, no boyfriends, nothing. They lived alone. So nobody would notice that they were actually living 2 lives at the same time, one that they were never conscious of. And so we have, for lack of a better word, evil, creating a secret workforce. They're in their underground cities, hiding under their beds, wetting themselves of fear. And they're in fear of us. They're so afraid that they actually have to create multiple personality people to do a lot of their work for them. So it really gets down to, what are you going to do? What do you do when you're faced with evil? What are you going to do? What are you going to know about it? Well, what I would do is I'd stand your ground. I'd look them dead in the eye, and I would punch them in the nose. And then if the master, the Mandarin, the CIA, whatever the street thug is, whatever the evil creature is standing in front of you, if it doesn't leave immediately, if it's just too surprised that a cow just punched it in the face, at that point the answer is really, really simple. You punch it in the face again. And you keep doing that, it will go away. Because evil is a coward. And a coward is always looking for easy prey. And it sure as heck is not accustomed to one of the cattle standing up on its hind legs, saying no, and punching it right in the face. You might try it sometime. It might help if several million of your fellow Americans did the same thing, but that's asking a lot. So frankly, I would be prepared to stand up alone. For all of us here at the2012fad.com, this is Charlie Bluehawk, wishing you a really good day and reminding you, please, to keep a good thought. The 2012 Fad is brought to you by Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead, a series of 5 erotica horror novels about a fallen angel finding his way back to regain his own soul, and how the CIA war against the human race. Their black magic captures and traps him in the body of a mind-controlled slave designed to hunt down and to kill their god, their Satan.